Welcome to another edition of 5 Minutes Alone with Rodney James, presented by MMALockup.com and Fox Sports 1190. Joining us on the show today is Ultimate Fighter alumni and current UFC Middleweight Fighter Bubba McDaniel. Mr. McDaniel, how are you, brother? Thanks for joining us.
Just hanging out. I head back to Wichita Falls right now. How y'all doing up there?
I'm doing good, enjoying some great weather here in Dallas, Texas, and looking forward to seeing you on March 15th in your next fight at UFC 171. Now, Bubba, I got to ask, I know that your proper name is Robert, so how did the name Bubba come about?
Well, as another Texas boy, you should know every Bubba is the oldest kid in the family, the oldest boy in each immediate family. But on my generation, from my mother's side, I'm actually the oldest boy anyway, so when it comes to everybody getting together, I was still Bubba.
Okay, fair enough. Well, I guess that makes me a Bubba by that logic then. I am a Texas boy, and I'm the oldest brother. So
there you go.
So I got to ask you, Bubba, you at the ripe age of 30, you're a pretty experienced professional fighter. You're going into, I believe it's your 29th or 30th fight as a pro. How'd you get started in MMA in the first place?
It's actually, if you want to count the show and you want to count the couple other fights I had in Indiana, it'll be my 35th pro fight. Whenever we go into this fight, it was Thor. But what was the question again? I'm sorry, I got off topic there.
No worries, man. I was just asking you about your background because I know you have a lot of fights, and I understand that you kind of came from a small town, upbringing and whatnot. And I was just wondering what sort of training you were able to get before you got into MMA.
Here's the thing about that is I actually, Wichita Falls, Texas, I didn't start doing anything until about 2004. I've been fighting tough man contests before that, just trying to, be the tough guy. And I went up to Oklahoma to fight those, and then I was, the bouncer at the bars, everything, Wichita Falls. So the thing is, Jason Maxwell had actually just beat Jens Pulver whenever I found out what MMA was. And, after that, I thought, well, heck, man, maybe this would be something I'd want to get involved in. And I went to a gym with the YOC on the east side of Wichita Falls, at the Youth Opportunity Center. They had, pretty much 4 posts in the ground with ropes tied around it, and, one mat in the middle of the ring. And we get in there and get it, man. I learned everything the hard way. It was, people think I went to a jiu-jitsu school, anything like that. Really, it was, Keith Sutton and Jason Maxwell, a handful of guys, Casey Roberts, Johnny Flores, Travis Hill, that were all from Henrietta, which is about 20 miles away from Wichita Falls. They all got together. Man, it was just the toughest group of guys I've still ever met in my life that just come from a little bitty podunk chick town, From there, Keith and Jason moved off to California. They went up to Mikey Burnett's, all back whenever it was the early 2000s. Learning things, learning the sport, trying to become involved. Jason Maxwell, his first pro fight was at King of the Cage 2 against Keith Golson, So, they were actually veteran guys in my hometown, and nobody knew of them, really. So, other than Jason beating Jens Pulver. So, I had a really, really weird bringing up into the MMA game. They were not nice guys either. They wanted everybody that was involved in their sport to be hardcore about their sport. And they tried to get rid of me for months. They beat on me and beat on me and beat on me. I remember, getting dropped, just couldn't see straight, they'd stand you back up, throw you in a corner, drop you again, that if you weren't gonna, tough it out, stick through it, they weren't gonna show you anything anyway, so they just needed you to be a dummy for them and be a bag.
That is unbelievable, man. That sounds like a real-life school of hard knocks, man. So I understand that now that you're a professional and you're fighting in the UFC, of course, you're at the famed Greg Jackson camp. So do you train there full-time? Or are you still in Texas, or how does that work?
That's the thing is I live in Albuquerque now, so I'm pretty much 90% of the time I'm in camp. Even if it's not mine, I'm helping other people with their camps. I've been... It was like, before John said, even me before the show, I was in there helping him with his camps against all the left-handers. I was Machida, I was Vitor, I was, anybody she throw in front of me that was left-handed, like Jardine fighting Rockhold, Kennedy fighting Rockhold, all that, man. I was a left-handed guy. They threw me in there. They were like, let's get it.
Folks, you're tuned in to 5 Minutes Alone with Rodney James, presented by MMALockup.com and Fox Sports 1190. On the line, we have UFC Middleweight Bubba McDaniel, who's going to be fighting in Dallas, Texas at UFC 171. Well, but that has to be a very surreal and just a defining moment for you to be able to fight in Dallas, Texas. I'm sure you're going to have a lot of friends and family there, and of course, the people of Texas, especially Dallas, are very fanatical about sports and about about their own. So, how much does it mean to you to be able to fight for the UFC in Dallas?
Here's the thing. It's I've never lost in Texas. I've had some crummy startings of a fight, but ended up I always perform in Texas, especially in the Dallas area, things along those lines. The crowd there is my home crowd, and I'm gonna be fighting a guy from Sweden, Thor. So man, us Texas people stick together anyway. So I just feel like having a guy coming overseas over there, the support I'm going to feel in the crowd, the energy and everything like that is going to be ridiculous. Even the people from my hometown that can come to this fight now, because I had a lot of people show up for the finale. I had 57 people show up for the finale fight in April for the show, and that was in Vegas. So I can only imagine what's actually going to show up to Dallas to watch me fight. And that's a huge thing for me. I'm expecting to have such a cheering section. The energy, I really feed off of people that are in the crowd. Having my mama in the crowd, man, you're going to have a tough time whooping my ass in front of my mama. You know what I mean?
I definitely understand what you mean. And we'll definitely be there. MMA Lockup will be there covering the fight as well. So, but let me ask you this. Have you given any thought at all to your walkout music? You look like a metal guy. Is that safe to say? Are you a metal guy?
Well, I really am a metal guy. I'm a big metal guy. But at the same time, I'm a big fan of all kind of music. I came out to Bombs Over Baghdad by Outkast, my very first the finale fight. This last fight, I attributed Jason Maxwell, who's one of the guys that got me started. Attributed him a little bit, came out to his walkout song of Hank Williams Jr., All My Rowdy Friends Coming Over Tonight,
Yeah, you really can't go wrong walking out to Hank Williams Jr. in Texas. So I was kind of thinking more like Pantera, though, since you are a metal guy and since that is a Dallas, Texas band. What about some Pantera?
There you go. That's another Texas band, you never can go wrong. But at the same time, the UFC wouldn't let me play a few other songs, even Bullets from My Valentine I couldn't play. Kind of a touchy thing there, so we'll see what happens.
All right. Folks, you're listening to MMALockup.com presents 5 Minutes Alone with Rodney James, also presented by Fox Sports 1190. Joining us is Bubba McDaniel, who's going to be fighting at UFC 171 against an opponent who I can't pronounce his name, so I'm not going to try. Bubba, let me ask you this. When you fought Alexander Shlemenko, who is now the Bellator middleweight champion, he's a guy who's defended his belt a few times. He's very dominant. Did you, at that time, realize that you were fighting someone who would later become, like I said, a very dominant fighter and eventually a champion? Is that something that still bothers you? Like, do you, in other words, do you think about avenging that loss, or is it something that you've moved on from entirely now that you've made it to the UFC?
Well, for a long time I did, honestly, because every loss actually hurts. Every loss, I don't care who I lose to, high, low level, whatever. The Shlemenko fight and the Kelvin Gastelum at the same time, the feeling of loss for those fights were the same exact feeling. You have to respect somebody that just beat you in a fight, But, Shlemenko at that time, I didn't really know who he was. I knew he was a stud coming from Russia, but at the same time, I had a lot of confidence in myself that I didn't have, because I just beat Kalahose, and I thought Kalahose was one of the it guys. I thought that, hey, man, I belong here. I'm gonna go out here. I'm gonna show you what's up. If you beat me, good for you. But I'm gonna go out here. I'm gonna put some pop knots on your head. At that time, Shlemenko was, and he was tough, man. That dude, I hit that dude hard, a lot. I had good positions. I had finishing chances. And nothing. He just kind of looked at me like, is that it?
Well, you've obviously come a long way since then, and perhaps it's better to be a contender in the UFC than it is to be a champion in a smaller organization, because honestly, we saw what happened to Ben Askren, who was an undefeated dominant champion of Bellator, got released and couldn't even get a job in the UFC. So it's kind of a tricky situation there. But anyway, I want to ask you, obviously, like I said, you've come a long way. How has your life changed since tell me about your experience of being on the show, on The Ultimate Fighter.
And like I tell people, the show was the show. I went on to a fight show ready to fight everybody and to win, you know, and then once I started breaking down from, you know, being broken down physically and mentally and everything like that, and then after losing the fight to Kelvin even, I wasn't ready to make weight again. You know, I might have faked it, but, you know, they were going into the Uriah fight, they're like, oh, you were scared. It's like, well, yeah, I was scared to make weight again, to tell you the truth. And then after that, you know, I'd mentally broken myself before any of that happened. But who as a 210-pound guy makes weight 4 times in 5 weeks, you know, and that was me as a low weight. Heck, I got in this year alone, since the show filmed and the other 2 fights I've had, I've been 235 pounds twice this year, you know, and I'm getting ready to drop back down to 85 again by March.
Yeah, and you got the holidays in front of you too, so that's another obstacle. And so back to the first part of my question, how has your life changed since you were on the show and now that you're on the UFC roster? What were you doing for a living before you made it into the UFC?
You know, I was still bouncing, and I started working for what was LA Boxing at the time, which is now bought out by the UFC. So I work for the UFC gym now, teaching cardio kickboxing classes to soccer moms. It's cool. I love the job. Honestly, I have the best bosses in the world, Reese Kilbrew and Noel Kilbrew, you know, out there in Albuquerque. And, you know, they give me all the time I need to be the fighter I want to be. If they know that, you know, when I have my time, I'm going to come back. I instruct. I have a good time. You know, it's just a fun place to work, and it's something that, you know, it's involved with my sport now, and, you know, I get to just have fun at work. So, but before that, you know, I've been a bouncer since I was 19. I've held various jobs in between too, but man, I've always been some kind of security for something.
So I think it's safe to say that you love the fight. Every job that you've ever had somehow revolved around conflict and confrontation. Hey, listen, Bubba, it's been great speaking with you. We're about out of time here. So at this time, is there anything else that you'd like to say to the fans, your teammates, sponsors? Hello? Looks like we might have lost Bubba there, folks. Anyway, that's Bubba McDaniel. He's a UFC middleweight fighter. He's going to be